The next unit in the geometry section is circles. So by the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to identify all the parts of a circle and then solve some problems involving circumference. And I know we did cover circumference when we did perimeter, but we're going to do a little bit of a review. So a circle is the set of all points in a plane that are the same distance from a given point in the plane. And that given point is the center of the circle or the middle. The diameter is the distance across the circle, but what's important here is that it does need to go through the center. The radius then is the distance from the center to any point on the circle. It's also important to note there that the radius is half of the diameter. Finally, a chord is the distance between any 2 points on the circle, and it does not necessarily need to go through the center. So here I have a circle drawn. Please draw this in your notes. And I have the 3 parts labeled. The fourth part that I should label is the center, which is the red dot. That's the center of the circle. Then we have the diameter, which is the blue line. It travels from one end to the other end of the circle through the center. From the center to the outside edge. And then we also have a chord, which just connects two sides, connects 2 endpoints or 2 points on the circle, but doesn't necessarily need to go through the center. So those are the important parts of the circle that you should be able to identify: center, radius, chord, diameter. So let's review the 2 formulas for circumference. The circumference of a circle, which remember is just the distance around the circle, is equal to its diameter times pi. So you can see the first formula there is circumference equals pi d, or pi times d. The other formula you can use is 2 times the radius times pi, and that's the second formula there, 2 pi r. And the reason why these formulas both work is that the diameter of a circle is equal to the radius times 2. So in that second equation, you're just replacing the d for diameter with the 2r. So the first example, find the circumference and round to the nearest tenth. We are given the diameter. So when you're given the diameter, it's probably easiest to use the pi times d formula. So that's pi times 3. And you'll need to get your calculator because remember we are using the pi button. We are not using 3.14. So you're going to have to press pi. Times 3. And you should get 9.4247777961, and it goes on. We are asked to round to the nearest tenth, so that's 9.4, and we need a unit of inches. Remember, circumference is just a distance or a length, distance around the circle, so we just use our basic unit of inches. Now we have an example where we need to find the circumference, except this time we're only given the radius. So this is where you should use the 2 pi r formula. So again, it's 2 times pi, and the radius, which is essentially half the diameter, is 5.3. So when you punch that into the calculator, it's 2 times pi times 5.3, and it gives you 33.30088 213, and then it goes on. So if we round this to the nearest tenth, it should be 33.3 centimeters. And the last example today is a story problem, but I'm going to read it to you and then we'll draw a picture and solve it. So Bernard works at a community center that has a circular swimming pool with a circumference of 40 meters. He would like to use a rope to divide the pool down the center. What should be the length of the rope? So if we draw a picture here of a swimming pool, it's circular. Oops, let's not draw it like that. Let's draw a good circle there. So there's our swimming pool. And he wants to put a rope through the center to divide it in half. Maybe there's a shallow and a deep end, or maybe they're doing aerobics on one side and an open swim on the other side, and they don't want kids crossing over into the aerobics class. So he wants to get rope, and he needs to know how much rope he needs. So we know the circumference here. This formula is a little bit different, but we know the circumference, and the rope is going to essentially be the diameter. So we're going to use the one that's circumference equals pi times d. We don't know the diameter this time, but we do know the circumference. The circumference is 40, so we're going to plug 40 in for c, pi times d. We need to solve the equation for d by dividing both sides by pi. Remember that pi is just a number. If there was a 2 in front of that d, you would divide both sides by 2. There's a pi in front of it, so we divide both sides by pi. So in your calculator, 40 divided by pi, we get 12.73239545. And let's go ahead and round this one also to the nearest tenth, even though it doesn't say. So the diameter would be 12.7 meters, roughly. So he could go to the hardware store and he could buy 13 meters of rope. He would know then that he would have enough rope. So you can identify the parts of the circle, go back and review that vocabulary slide and then the picture of the circle that followed. And can you solve problems involving circumference? We did 3 examples in the notes, and we'll do some more on the circles worksheet.